Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. This is chapter 4 in our course Creativity in Business. Chapter title here is Objective Finding, Fact Finding, and Problem Finding or Definition. These are the main first stages of the creativity problem solving process we are introducing in this chapter. The chapter will present half of the stages, these three ones, and we will introduce the other stages inshallah in the following chapters. However, in the beginning we will introduce the whole stages, I mean the whole cycle or the whole all the steps stages. The main concentration of this chapter and the following one is to discuss and learn and develop our skills about the tools used in each and every stage. Fact finding stage, after that problem finding, and before that objective finding. Let's see the stages we are talking about. There are 6 stages as we have here: objective finding, fact finding, problem finding. These are the ones we will concentrate and give details in this chapter. And then after that, idea finding, solution finding, acceptance finding. Those are the problem solving from the creativity thinking perspective. Let's define and talk about each one separately. Objective finding is about what do you want out of solving this problem. How will the end result will be? It's better to think about this end result before even defining the problem itself, which come here in these stages, in stage number 3. Then after that, you need a stage where you know details about the area of the problem in order to be able to define and come up with idea and solutions for that. So stage number 2 is fact finding. Number 3, you need to specifically define the problem in a way that provide you better ideas and solution oriented one toward the goals. Idea finding is a divergent area stage. A divergent, I mean you dig in many areas to generate solution for the problem. Here we have convergent stage, which is to evaluate each and every one in order to select one specific solution and then see how are you going to implement that. Find budget for it, people to implement systems, skills, and so on. Let me talk more about each stage, and this part of the chapter, actually it's not in chapter 4, it's in chapter 3, and I brought it here because it's more related to chapter 4 actually. So let's talk about objective finding. Objective finding, we start by some divergent thinking. I'm not gonna define what does it mean divergent, because we introduced this in the previous chapter, but quickly we say that we think in different wide areas to generate a list of problems related to this area we are facing, or the one in hand. Then we began to elaborate, identify the most specific problems areas that need further exploration, which is convergence. A way of thinking. So we have divergent and convergent ways of thinking, both of them in the objective finding stage. One of the tools suggested by our textbook here for Proctor is to identify, while you are thinking, the different specific items you see or you consider as important or relevant to think and collect data and information. The author of the text called it hits. So in that stage you collect hits and you classify these hits into different spots, which he called it hotspots. So we have hits and hotspots. It's cluster of hits. So if your problem has some economical area, so it's a cluster of important things, and then under this economic you have different hits. So things about inflation, things about income, things about cycles, business cycles, and so these are economic hotspots in relation to some problem you are thinking to find a solution for. So hits and hotspots is a tool for conversion thinking. You are you are evaluating these ideas from the divergent thinking and try to concentrate them into specific clusters. Hits and hotspots. It's a suggested tool, high-level tool, thinking tool for thinking in the objective finding, and actually in all the stages we are talking about. Hits and hotspots that we see. Hotspot is not for a Wi-Fi or something, but we took the logo or the symbol for it. Hits and hotspots are identified by questioning. It's a suggestion from the author of the text we are introducing here and discussing. You need to question who is the one motivated to solve the problem. So ownership of the hit, ownership of the problem. It could be a hit. Who are the stakeholders? Who will be influenced? So all these are the persons, those who have authority for solving the problem. So all these under the ownership of the problem you are dealing with. A problem may exist but doesn't need a solution because it's not important. So we need from the very beginning to understand how important the problem is. A problem may be very, very important, but we don't need to deal with it immediately. So we need to assess, evaluate how critical, how urgent to solve this problem. These are three important dimensions. You need to question for each hit and hotspot related to the problem area, the problem objective we are dealing with. So that was stage number one, objective finding. Let's go to fact finding. It's clear that fact finding is about collecting information, right? So objective fact finding, it's the second one. We collect information. It's important to understand the problem and to later on the ideation. It's generate ideas for the problem. So that was the fact finding. Stage number three is problem finding here. Problem finding, it's the area where you examine the hits and the hotspots and provide a specific definition for the problem. Any problem may have different definition. You may escalate up or escalate or degrade down or go down in a scale for a problem. It could be for a higher level economic one, national security one, or it could be merely something related to implementing something at lower level. So you need to define specifically the problem. It's half the way to the solution, how you define the problem. Stage number four, it's idea finding. You try to solve the problem you have defined here, finding solution. Mainly it's a divergent way of thinking. Okay. Some of the tools we will learn is about to come up with many ideas, maybe unimportant one, shallow one, and leave that for evaluation later on. But the main point in idea finding is to find solution, as many as you can. Number 5 is a solution finding. You need to evaluate here, right? So we have some convergence or convergent thinking. Solution is basically a choice of ideas and point at some workable solution for the problem and select in the end one of them. This one may not be accepted or get enough motivation. People may not like it. Okay, so you need some acceptance finding here. Okay, you may not have enough money, budget, and so on. So there is a stage in the end. It's about the implementation part of a solution, in which you identify obstacles. How are you going to implement? Who are the people? What are their skills? And they need hits and hotspots as well, divergent way of thinking in different areas in order to make sure or plan a successful way for implementing solution you have selected. These are the 6 stages for creative problem solving, right? And we are ready now to start our chapter, right? Our chapter starts from here, actually. The previous one was just introduction to the chapter that came from chapter 3. But in chapter 4, احنا هنا we introducing 6 stages, and we say here that our chapter position is to talk about these 3. Not theoretically, but in specific tools we will use to find facts about the problem and define problem in hand. So this is the position of our chapter here. 3 stages: objective finding, fact finding, problem finding. In objective finding, we will introduce or discuss, implement one tool called SWOT analysis. In fact finding, we will introduce 2 tools: the 6 questions and the dimension analysis. In problem finding, we will have 2 categories of tools. The first one is the redefinition approaches, and the second one is analytical methods. In redefinition approaches, we will have all these tools. They are small ones, high level thinking, conceptual one: the laddering technique, goal orientation technique, boundary examination technique or tool, progressive abstraction tool, the why method tool. In the end, we will have analytical methods. We will have 2 of them. The first one is called decomposable matrix or matrices, and cause and effect diagram. How many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 tools we introduce in this chapter, classified according to the stage they are serving or supporting. Let's start with stage number 1 and the tool 1, SWOT analysis. This is a very famous SWOT analysis we will talk about. Before that, let's give an introduction. You remember this guy. This guy is Albert Einstein. He have a saying, famous one from the related to the area we are talking about. It's very famous in this area, is that you need to give the definition of the problem, objective definition of the problem, collect enough information, enough effort, even more than finding a solution itself. Because if you thought hard, that would help you provide the right solution and the best way to implement them. He said, if I have 1 hour to save the world, I would spend 55 minutes defining the problem and 5 minutes only for finding the solution. This is Albert Einstein, the most creative and intelligent person we ever known in our history of humanity. So objective finding, fact finding, and problem finding help us provide perspectives on the problem and alleviate blocked thinking we talked about and explained in chapter 2. That is important in creativity, is to break all the mental blocks, creativity blocks, right? Because in many situations, when we have problems, we concentrate on symptoms, not the real problem or the real disease behind them. So these 3 stages are very important to not to fall in these symptoms problem. Stage number one, objective finding. Now we talked about it. We start with some divergent thinking, and then we move to convergent one. Okay, that would need in many situation experience. We compare current experience with current objectives or plans. Also performance it need to be scanned and compared with models of desirable outcomes. So what we did comparing to what we wanted, right? So this is another area where we identify problems and areas and objectives to deal with. Performance with that of other organizations. We compare with other organization performance. All these areas notes help us detect areas of problems, areas of objectives. So from our experience, we may find that there is something missing in some results, some situation, right? Comparing to other organizations, we are missing something. They are better than us in something. So these are examples of the areas where you identify, point at specific areas of problems. That was introduction to objective finding. Our main concentration not on the introduction again. I will let you read, I will encourage you inshallah read more from the text. However, our main concentration is to provide tool number one, the SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis stands for strengths S, weaknesses W, opportunities O's, threats T's. So we have SWOT. Strengths and weaknesses, this is areas you investigate internally inside your organization, inside yourself, inside your home. But at any rate, it's internally internal part. Externally, you find opportunities and threats. So the O's and T's are all external dimension of the analysis. Brought from the textbook, we have an example to explain SWOT analysis. They usually, when they do this analysis, they put it into a matrix like this. Columns will be S's and W's, strengths and weaknesses, right? And the rows will be opportunities and threats. You study strengths and weaknesses and you write them down, list them like this. We have here in our example only a list of 2 strengths. In real life, in real examples, you may have many strengths, many weaknesses, more than that, of course. In a toy company, studied in the example in the textbook, they found that that toy company have some strength, which is it has strong existence, contacts and outlets. Okay, and also they have some another strong area, which is well established company name. They have a name, they have an image, good one. However, they have some W's, weaknesses, I mean high production cost, okay, and they have fluctuated sales, seasonal ones. So this is S1, this is S2, this is W1, this is W2 we have here. External analysis, they found that they have some opportunities that may enable them to succeed more, and they have threats that represent some obstacles or something that may cause problems for them to succeed. O's and T's. The O number 1, they have some what is called here film spin-offs. Spin-offs here, it means that they have opportunities to generate some products, side products, extra ones that result from larger products or famous movies like toy movie or something like this. They can generate toys from these spin-offs. Also as well, they have another opportunity, which is Holidays are times where people buy toys as gifts for children or something. Some threats which they have here, they have some competition coming from abroad. And the second one is that kids, their taste changes and they like electronic tools or gizmos here. It's like small ones that they use it for games, electronic ones, video games and so on. Portable in hands and easy to use, especially mobile phones nowadays, you have lots of these games. So that would threat toy manufacturer. So now we have a matrix like this. The heads of the columns are strengths and weaknesses. The heads of the rows are opportunities and teas. We try to define or find the objectives we are dealing with through matching columns and rows. So let's match S's and O's and write down what might be objective we may look for. So if we match S1, S2, O1, O2, we may find that our objective could be how can we win major toy contracts. We have here contracts using outlets and company name. So we have a name, right, and we have contacts. How can we use them? Use S1 and S2, right, to use the film spin-offs. So the definition here of the problem, or the objective, we have selected how to win major toy contracts using outlets and company name. This is by matching O1, S1, S2. For matching W's and O's, how to advertise products so that they will sell all the year round. You see here we have W2, which is seasonal sales, right? And we have holidays approaching, which is a season as well. So how can we fit this weakness with this opportunity? So it's about our objective is to advertise, how to advertise products in these holidays to sell, but to sell all year round in order to deal with this fluctuation or seasonal sales. Now you may ask question, who provide this definition of the objectives? Usually in companies they have committees, they invite experts, people from outside, some customers, some vendors may be involved in this committee and think with a steering committee doing this analysis and write down this. It's an objective that enlighten, that provide guideline for the whole planning of the whole organization. It take step number one, which is objective finding. So objective finding that deal with W's and O's could be how to advertise products so that they will sell all the year round. They have holidays, they have seasonal sales, but they would like to sell all the year, not only on holidays and not only in seasons. Also as well, how to win major toy contracts. So they would like to have contracts, right, utilizing these contacts and outlets. Now that we have mapped O's and S's, O's and W's, we do the same with T and S's, T and W's. Let's see the threats. How can we use our strengths to deal with the threats? The definition suggested by the committee is how to use the company name, which is here S number 2, to deal with T number 2. So how to use the company name to develop electronic. They would like to enter electronic gizmos here, electronic toys to appeal to techno kids. So that could be the objective, right? How this objective came? By studying strengths and weaknesses, and they found that 2 here and 2 there could help in defining an objective like this. Let's see another example of matching or mapping W's and T's. They found that they may map W1 is here, and T1 by writing down or wording this objective like this. How to reduce costs? They have here high cost, right? How to reduce costs to compete with threats from foreign competition. Okay, so they put these two together: reduce cost, deal with competition from abroad. So now what we did is that we studied the environment, internal one and external one, and we tried to map them, think and write down objective in order to find better objective wording for the future of this organization. That was يا جماعة objective finding area, and the SWOT analysis is one of the most famous techniques used in strategic planning and problem solving and creative problem solving. Now we need to move to stage number 2, fact finding. And in fact finding, we will have some interesting two tools we have here. Fact finding, we have this guy, Rudyard Kipling. It's very famous novelist and writer, genius one actually. He has this, of course he has great seminal works and novels, but he has a saying that is famous in history. He says, I keep 6 honest serving men. They taught me all I knew. Their names are what and why and when and how and where and who. What it meant here by this saying is that whenever you are studying something, collecting facts about something, you need to ask these 6 questions. They serve you well in understanding the problem. Write down, define problem well, and then it helps you in the later on to find solutions. So we have here who, why, where, what, how, when. They call it the 5 W's and an H. W, 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 and H in the end. Who is it about? When you have a problem you are dealing with, who are the person dealing with this problem? What exactly is happening? What is the story? And when did it take place? And where exactly the place you are talking about? Why this happened and how? If you collect information about these 6 areas, that would help you exactly define the problem. Let's have an example. Let's assume that our problem here is we have low staff morale. This is very generic. Right? You need to detail this by those 6 questions. In order to deal with these 6 questions, you need to ask yourself this, think in that way. IWWM, in what way might we improve staff morale, right? So the way we ask the questions, the 6 ones, is to begin with this way. This is a suggestion by the textbook by Proctor. I say, in what way might we improve staff morale? That is the first definition, right? So collect information about who. You are talking about staff. What do you mean by staff? All staff? No. Who are the people concerned with this? It was found that it's not all the staff. It's only shop service counter staff. So now we can redefine the problem. In what way we might improve shop service counter staff, not all the staff, right? So the problem now is more determined. Okay, the second question is what? What is low morale? Is it very generic like this? No, they have some lack of motivation to do a good job and present a friendly interface with the customer. This is by doing some research, and they found that the low morale here is that they have a problem of motivation actually, and they are not friendly with the customer. So now we have more specific understanding of staff and morale, because we have investigating the who and the what. Question number 3, where does the problem seem to persist? Not in all the company, it's only in the city center location. So then the problem may be investigated more by how and when. It may be this problem happen in a specific time, it could be only in the weekend, and how these happen only by the call center when they are doing some support for something. So by collecting this information, doing enough research, by asking questions who, what, where, when, how, and so on, now we can write down the objective again, or the problem again. In what way might we satisfy the wants and need of weekend? You see here, wants and needs is the main answer of the how question here. Wants and needs of weekend, because it was found that the problem happened in the weekend only. In the retail counter staff, this is the who question. In city center stores, because we found that not all the staff, only the city center stores. Okay. Also, as well, we may enhance the problem by writing down in what way might we seek to improve the friendliness. Friendliness is the main problem we have here by asking the question, what is low morale? Friendliness of customer service interface. So instead of having general problem like low staff morale, we found by details that it's not all the staff morale, it's related to some motivation and being friendly. It's not in all the areas, it's only in the city center locations, only in the weekend. So when we solve the problem, we solve it for the weekend, for not in the whole the country, only in the city center store, and so on. So this exactly what it meant by 6 questions. It gives you details about these 6 areas and making you able to specifically define the problem. That was it. Inshallah, in the next video, because this video got long enough, we will introduce the second tool we have, which is dimension analysis. In the fact finding, we introduced only one, these 6 questions. In the next one, inshallah, we will talk about dimension analysis. Thank you.